Good. Remind me how to pronounce your name? Shumi. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shu Wen. I'm with him. I'm his student. He always wants to teach me Go games.
Shu Wen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we can do it. Here we go.
Can we pass this around and get everybody signed up, please? There's a few names on there.
Laura, Mary, Dale, Garrett,
Like
Mark,
to,
Stephen,
be able to get the count.
Eva, Chris, Neil, Dennis, Kyle, Colin, Arwen, Ryan, Willard. I got you. Logan, Aaron, Bill, Shuwen, Shuwing, Jiming, Brendan, Suko, Logan, Paul. Is that everyone? Sure.
Wow.
That's important.
You should teach how to do that.
Yes.
We're going to talk about it.
Here's a video about that.
So first of all, this business of learning names. Why do I feel this is important to you teaching anybody? Number one, I teach for a living. Like that's my day job, and I teach at Edmonds College up in basically slightly north of Seattle, Washington. And we're on the quarter system, so I have new students coming in every 11 weeks essentially. I teach music and audio engineering for those who don't know, and so I'm constantly on this treadmill of students. And I like teaching a lot, but I also sometimes get in situations where it's hard to relate to the students, or the students aren't paying attention, or there's an extra mile I can go. When I call out their name, they're all of a sudden put on the spot, of course, and they have to do something for you. They feel that connection. I think a lot of students who go to college today feel anonymous, especially with the prevalence of online education. It's very easy to sit behind your computer, take your tests, write your essay, and graduate. And I think to some degree we become desensitized to names. I mean, that's the opposite word. We become more sensitized to names. When someone calls you out by name, it has even more meaning today because we live in this era where technology has sort of replaced some of that human connection. So I think it's really important. It's a really just fundamental. If you're going to be a teacher, learn the names of the students you're teaching, especially if it's a face-to-face interaction, as much as you can. So this is a value that I have, right? Is making this connection and building this community, right? It's very difficult to build a community if the individuals don't recognize themselves as an individual within that community. So how do we do that? I go, Chris, he's an individual within the community, and now you all know who he is, and he's sort of on the spot, and he's wondering what he should do right now. It's a beautiful thing. So really, really, really valuable. I mean, even if you learn nothing else today, most of these lessons aren't really going to be lessons about teaching Go explicitly. These are more like teaching values. For teaching a class such as this, I think it applies. I think these are things that you should take home. So, we're building this community. We're learning our names. We have Youngwon, and I don't think I know your name. Say it again. Taeyeon. Jaeyeon. I'll do this again later. We'll see if I can still do this in 20 minutes from now, or an hour from now, whatever it is. So this is a really this fundamental concept. If you don't know their name, it's so much harder to relate, and especially if you're in a group setting. Someone plays the wrong move, I want you to use their name. Who played the wrong move? Okay, attach the responsibility, make their move to that person's. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we learn names? Because so many of you say that you're face kind of people. I recognize the face, I don't recognize the name kind of thing. Yes? How many people would say that?
I don't do either.
How many people actually feel like they're pretty good at learning names? 2? For about 10 minutes? Okay. It's a skill. This is something you can practice and get better at. Like this is the revelation. Okay. This isn't some people are inherently better at it or worse at it necessarily. It's much more that if you practice it, you get better at it. One of my most important lessons, just about life in general, was from an art teacher. And I couldn't draw, I couldn't paint, I couldn't do anything. And you know what the art teacher said?
Practice.
Well, he said, look.
Give up.
No. He said, I can't draw or paint either. It's a skill that I had to learn. Like I went through the books, and because he liked, I should say, speak in the third person here, because he liked to draw, paint, or whatever, he learned how to do it. I got that for you, Mark. Okay. Because he went through the practice of it, he was willing to put in the time, to spend the time with it, to do it over and over again. It's an acquired skill. And so, a few years ago now, I guess, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I decided I'm going to learn to draw this year. And I still suck at it, but I drew some pretty nice pictures over the course of the year because I just said I'm just going to do this. And to that point, I had this belief that I cannot draw. And I think so many things in life are like this, that they are skills. Unless you know this is a skill that you can acquire, you don't think you have it. So don't sell yourself short. These are things that you can practice and learn. Does anyone know what the World Memory Championships are? You've heard of it? Like one of the premier events at this World Memory Championship is memorizing the order of a playing deck of cards. So you have about 2 minutes or so. You get the deck of cards shuffled for you. You get to look at it. Ace of diamonds, 7 of spades, 7 of diamonds, 7 of hearts. You get 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, you have to recite the whole thing back in order.
Pretty hardcore.
It's hardcore. Do you think anyone is born with that skill?
A few.
Maybe a few.
You autistic people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people with very different, brain wiring mechanisms in place. But all the people who are competing virtually have learned it, have practiced it. And there's actually a really good documentary about this. There's a couple of books about these people, and they're just like really fascinating people, I think, in general. Like the people who really care about memorizing and memory, I think, are really just kind of neat people. But names are just like that. You need to practice it. Now, why was I able to do this up here today? Well, number one, I cheated. I already knew probably about 30% of you in here. Okay? So you look around the room, and if you don't know 30% of the people, you're already at a disadvantage. So I cheated, right? I already knew 30% of you. The others, while you guys are while you were telling me a story about your life or teaching or something, I'm actively not listening to it. I'm just going over the name, and not only putting the name in, I'm trying to remember the location. For me, I'm very geographical in terms of my memory. And maybe this is why Go appeals to me, because two-dimensional plane, stones here and here. I'm pretty good at playing on my brain.
You could label as like coordinates.
I could label you by coordinates. I don't want to. I don't want to go that far. If you guys all shuffle around the room, I will have a much more difficult time with remembering your names. I'm just telling you, if you want to beat me later, when we try this again. But for me, I'm trying to make a connection. I'm going over to Dale. I'm going, okay, Dale is here. I feel Dale here in the room, right? And I'm trying to memorize you by the space that you occupy, which is perhaps dangerous for me as a college professor, because sometimes the students move around the room.
Yeah, assign seats.
Oh, I can't assign seats. That's so, oh my gosh.
Junior high.
Yeah.
If it's so important to know their names, and if they mix up, you can't.
Well, no, but it's up to me to practice. I put that burden on me, right, to be able to deal with that. Welcome, come on in.
I'm good.
Is it Lee? What was your name?
Larry.
Oh, Larry, sorry. Okay. Oh, gosh. I know I forgot hers. Jayon. All right. Arwen, Ryan, Jayon, Young-Wan, Willard. Oh, Darwin? Oh, I misheard it the first time. It's okay. Okay, Darwin, Ryan, Young-Wan, Jayon, Willard, Cullen, Larry, Kyle, Chris, Dennis, Neil, Chris, Eva, Stephen, Mark, Garrett, Dale, Mary, Laura, Lee. You didn't even introduce yourself. Shuning, Shuwen, Bill, Brendan, Aaron, Suko, Sean, Paul, and Logan. Okay, still have it. Okay. I'm reinforcing this so later on at the end I can still do this. Because again, you have to practice, you have to go over and over again. And if you do that, if you dedicate the time, you can do it. So make these associations, put the effort in and practice it. I'm sorry I really didn't pay attention to what all experience you guys had. That was just me just buying time to memorize your names. But it works, you can use your time however you want, right? You Go players. You know this rule. So do it, okay? I mean, it's really, really powerful tool. There's 10. I have like 10 things to learn here today. Does that sound like a good number?
Yeah.
All right, that was number one. Any questions about number one? Because too bad. All right, number two, convey enthusiasm. This is really, really, really a big deal. Because especially over the last 10 years or so in higher education, it's been shown that basically, if you can motivate your students will outperform the ones that are learning more content but are less motivated. Just over and over again. And there's many reasons for this, right? Number one is that if you're motivated to learn something, you are going to put more time into it. And again, if we are talking about Go or learning names as skills, it's a time thing. There's a commonly accepted saying, I guess, about becoming an expert in anything. Has anyone heard? Do you know how many hours it takes?
10,000.
10,000, right?
10,000.
And notice that statement does not qualify the type of 10,000 hours. It's just do something for 10,000 hours, you'll become an expert.
I'm not sure the conditional runs that way.
It doesn't, but I'm going to stretch it. Okay? But how do you get someone to do something for 10,000 hours?
You have to motivate.
Enthusiasm, right? It's about motivation, okay? And this is really good news for you guys. Like everyone in here, no matter what your skill level, if you can convey enthusiasm and motivation, you are a Go teacher. You can be a great Go teacher. It doesn't matter what rating, what style you play. That's not as important as giving this love of the game to someone else. Because if you can convey that, they'll go and learn this stuff on their own. I have students who've surpassed me, or former students, I should say, who've surpassed me in Go level, which is depressing as all hell, right? They're just...
Consider the alternative.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's what we want, it's what you want. Your students to get better than you, but then they beat me in a tournament and it's like, I made you. Go back to whence you came. Okay? So I didn't make the student better than me, right? What was my job in their trajectory?
You got him or her worked up.
Yes, right? And I gave them, maybe a couple basic tools here and there, and got them motivated and inspired to go look up stuff. And there's another reason why this is really good news, is because I'm wrong about lots and lots of things. And that's why I'm not a better Go player. So if I try to convey, the content, I can't do that perfectly. Even Youngwon Kim, who's probably, I assume, the strongest Go player in this room by a pretty healthy margin. There's things about Go that you don't know. So even he can't teach, the perfect set of content. He doesn't know either. So this is why this is so important, right? You can always get someone. Come on in, Andy. I know his name. He'll be easy. This is why it's so important to motivate your students, because if you give them that as your tool, they can exceed you. If you only give them content, they'll never surpass you. Okay? This is the dream, right? I know it's a sad dream because then they beat you in tournaments, but this is the dream. I spent 2 years ago. I gave a talk similar to this, and I had a whole slide about what I like about Go. And I suspect many of you guys. I have a video on YouTube that's gotten a lot of views. And I suspect a lot of you guys have already seen it. It's Sibicky Go lecture number 28. What I like about Go. It's like an hour long. It's what I like about Go. And I opened up the floor 2 years ago to say what you like. Everyone had many, many things to say about Go, and we wasted about half an hour just about loving Go. We have too many people. I don't want to open it up. But this is what I think another key component to whenever you're teaching Go. Slip in those things. What makes Go special to you? And for instance, there's a couple of Josekis that I just love. Right, the 18.5-point trick Joseki just tickles me.
Oh, this is.
Do you guys know this Joseki?
Awesome.
Yeah. Want to see a Joseki? Here, I'll play on the board. If you guys can't see, I don't care.
You can take the paper off.
I can take the paper off?
That was just...
This feels official. Right, so here's what I think is the most genius Joseki in the world. It's not really Joseki, you'll never see this in games.
Somebody played it in the lightning tournament.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I might have one. Not against me.
Okay.
He was so happy. He was bragging about it.
Oh, really? So here, we're going to do this. And what do you guys normally play here?
C7.
C7?
Oh, well, someone knows the trick. This is the trick Joseki. Like this or this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys seen this one? Oh, it's super cool. I like this one a lot. What do you think black does?
Block.
There? All right, what do you think white does?
On it?
Sure, why not? Why not try to, that's an ugly stone. Try to connect, what do you think black does?
Block.
Nuh-uh. White says that's fine. What do you think black does? And by the way, if this was happening in a real game, this would never happen. There's a way for black to get out of this early that results in a mostly even result. But this is the trick that you've fallen for. Does this look like a good move?
Sure.
Sure.
It's kind of quaint. You asked if it looked like a good move.
Oh, I did. That's true. What about here? We're just asking questions.
You cut first?
You probably cut first. I don't know. Alright, let's say black doesn't want to let you out. Doesn't cut. And these stones are really hard to tell the color that they are. For some reason.
Magnets
I
are
mean, it's
all
pretty
black.
black and white.
It's pretty black and white, but you know, sometimes it's easier said than done.
It's half of the wood is done.
This one's black, right? Black one? That's not a black. One left.
They're in front of you, the black stuff.
There's a whole basket.
Is it?
Oh! That's the white box! It looks black and white to me.
Oreos.
So I don't quite have the move order right because I'm doing this on the fly and I haven't thought about this in a while. Is this like a good move for white? Will you guys play this? It's like, right now we have 5 liberties and we're about to die. Let's have 4 liberties. And be about to die. Oh, this move. Ooh, pretty good outdoor. This looks
You're
stupid,
gonna
right?
squeeze on the outside.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Good shape on outside.
So, Atari. Black has to fill. And here. Black doesn't want to die here, so that's connect. And it looks like capturing rights. 4 liberties to 4 liberties. Except if white starts it, black just gets out, right? So we net. And now it's a capturing race. But white loses. Spoiler. I wasn't planning on playing with. No! You can even Atari later. You don't have to do this now, but you can. Force the.
Just to create a visual.
Alright, so what did white get this Joseki?
Whoa.
The most magnificent wall that ever come out of any Joseki in the history of Joseki. Isn't that cool?
Black cars in the corner.
No, black has 18.5 points in the corner. 18 points is a lot. But this wall is actually way better than 18.5 points. If you think you want 18.5 points here, you're wrong. You want this. Okay, so why did I show you this?
Because you love it.
I was enthusiastic about it. I want to talk about the things that make me excited. You have to find the things that make you excited. And some of you might really like Tsuji and do all sorts of Tsuji books. Some of you might really like Fuseki. Some of you might like, Go Seigen games. Whatever it is, find the thing that you like, teach that. I don't care if the students aren't quite either prepared for it, they're over-prepared for it, or maybe you think they need to learn Go by playing, Tsuji books first and then Go Seigen, there's like a certain order. No, throw that away. Do what makes you excited so you can make them excited. Okay? We still good, Neil? Yeah. All right, number 3. Not 3. Oh, stop having numbers, though. Okay. Phantom number. Have a plan. Now, for those of you who see my videos, you basically know that every video has a plan because they usually have the topic listed at the top of the video. It's pretty rare that I go to a class or meeting session, whatever we're having, and not have an idea of what I want to do that day. Usually, it's there's some sort of theme that someone might have a question about. Perhaps like utilizing thickness, or maybe we're going to look at a couple games by a certain pro. It can be, hey, let's just practice life and death problems. But there's some sort of plan in place. I think a lot of Go teachers fail because they show up and just expect students to have games to bring them, or want to play games and want to go over them with students. And the students, that's okay for a little while, but then they don't that gets old. I mean, it feels boring after a while. It feels like the same old. And unfortunately, we live in a culture that very much prioritizes new. And so Go is a huge universe, but it's only so big. So how do we have new things in Go? It's not like you can invent new Joseki every week for your students to learn.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome, right? But how do we keep things new? Or at least have the appearance of newness?
Come up with new stuff.
What kind of stuff? How about compartmentalize? If I put things into small baskets, there's always another basket. And that's the beauty of Go, right? There's always another basket. So don't try to have every class learn everything, right? Every class, every session, whenever you're teaching, don't always do a game review. That's actually a pretty terrible way to teach a group of people in particular. It's great for short periods of time because people can focus the logic and put all the mechanics together. But if you can break it down into smaller chunks, people are going to, number one, be able to visualize themselves doing it. They're going to be more accurate in their practicing of doing it, and they're going to be thinking about it. Every class I teach is preceded by an email that I send out to the entire Seattle Go Center membership. And I say, this is what is going on in the class this week. And I don't tell them they have to come. I mean, there's no force or money involved here. But the students themselves look at it and say, do I need to know about that basket of information? Am I really good about life and death? Am I really good about Go Seigen games? Do I know anything about Tsuji? Most of the time the answer is no, they don't know, because Go is a really big world, so they come to class. Do you know what my least attended classes are at the Seattle Go Center? Joseki.
What do you love
No,
about
those are well attended.
Reviews.
Game reviews. If I put up, we're doing game reviews this week, I get 2 people, maybe 3. It's really terrible. It seems like I don't have a plan. And again, you don't necessarily have to really have a plan. You really just have to have the apparition of a plan to make this whole thing glue together.
By game reviews, you mean like pro game reviews or like?
No, I mean like students bring their games and we look at their games. I don't know. My students in particular just they'll fall off the bandwagon that week.
I find it tough to do that if it's not right after the game.
Yes, that's another thing, right? The students.
In the heat of the moment, after you spend an hour thinking about it, it's a lot easier to review and a lot more fun.
Yeah.
But only for the player, not for anybody else.
Right. So I teach the class on Monday at 6:30. Right. So if they didn't play a game that day, then
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not really going to give you a whole series of ideas for having a plan. I just want, again, these are values for what I want you to value when you're teaching Go. You can be as creative with your plan as you like. If you want to spend a whole class on monkey jumps, do that. That's great, right? If you want to spend a whole class just talking about the history of the size of the board, it might be a very different type of class. But I think a lot of people would be interested in that. That's pretty cool. If that's something that you're into and makes you excited, do that. A lot of different plans. There's a lot of room to be creative here. Don't just get into a box. If you ever don't have an idea, go on YouTube. I mean, there's a number of people now. Got another one back there, right? Are you doing stuff too, Sean, on YouTube yet?
No.
No? Okay. Where have I seen your name though? Is it on Reddit? I don't know. I know your name from
I
somewhere.
must have made a really big comment or something.
I don't know. It's also kind of a cool name.
Thanks.
Sean's on there. But there's inspiration. You have the world at your fingertips, right? Just go to YouTube, go to Twitch, go to Reddit. Just look for what people are doing. And often before, even actually, I still do this. I don't do it as often though. I have a Go book collection that's about this big. I don't know how big yours is. My Go book collection is this big. So if I ever don't have a plan, guess what happens?
Close your eyes and copy.
I copy? Well, yeah, but I go to the bookshelf and I go, okay, what's my plan for the week? And I just go down, look for the next book we haven't talked about yet, pull it off, look at it, pick a few pages, do a few problems, boom, there's my class. Doesn't take a lot of work. My wife is a teacher for Seattle Public Schools. And because she's a public school teacher, she has to have real plans. Has to documented in things. Well, I have to have syllabi too, but I mean like her actual teaching plan for the day, kind of thing. And I'm not that kind of person. Okay, we've already kind of touched on this, right? This sort of goes back to the enthusiasm thing. But do what you do well. Go is a huge universe. You don't do everything perfectly. When Kim does not do everything perfectly, so you don't have to either. But when you are teaching, do the things that you do best. Whatever that is. And I know that's sometimes hard to determine in Go, but again, it's really not about being really good with the content. It's about what makes you excited anyway. So probably whatever makes you excited is probably what you're best at, and go from there. Just because you're teaching Go doesn't mean you have to start a class or start a group of people off with Fuseki, right? Beginning of the game. If you're not comfortable with the beginning of the game, don't start there. Start with something you are good at. A lot of young people today, right? We give our kids these books of life and death problems. Here, go do this, right? Go do these problems. Go do these problems. So they can read like crazy. So, if I was going to get taught by an 11-year-old in a class, I kind of want him to teach me life and death. They're really good at it, right? I do not want those 11-year-old kids teaching me Fuseki. I played against one today. He was terrible. But he also killed me in a fight later on. So, do what you do well. That applies certainly to your Go instruction. Okay, this is kind of a big one. This is actually a little bit different than the talk I gave a couple years ago. Last time I gave this talk, I said humans really only care about one thing in life, and I've changed that. I've amended that since then. Last time I gave this talk, I said the only thing that humans really care about is ourselves. And if we can't relate to something, if we don't are able to project ourselves into something or know how something relates to us, we don't care about it. If I told you, hey, there's a rock on the moon, okay, it's not very effective.
story.
It's a cool story, right? We don't care, okay? But if I told you there's a rock in your shoe, I'm like, really? How'd you know that? That's weird. Right? All of a sudden you care a lot more. I'm changing this though. I've now sort of decided that there's really two things we care about, right? We care about ourselves, so that doesn't change. That's still here. But I think I've really been this idea, or had this idea, or been obsessed with this idea of the narrative structure, the story that we tell ourselves, right? It's almost like this fictional version of ourselves, or this fictional ending. We want to know how things end. We want to know how things go. It's this curiosity. And humans have been telling stories, right? This is one of the oldest forms of culture that we have, and it still exists today in books, movies, television, music. I mean, everything is a story. And so, when you teach Go, you're a storyteller. And when you're up at the board, and you're talking about this very abstract game with these almost mathematical concepts that are probably, like aliens invented it, kind of abstract ideas, there's a stone here, there's a stone here, there's a stone here. It's not just this geometrical relationship. For me in particular, and I hope for you, the stones are telling a story. If you go to a Go board, and your opponent opens up this, does that make you feel anything? What do you feel if black plays that?
Trepidation.
Say that again?
Trepidation.
Trepidation.
Little anger.
Little anger.
Like, that's what you did. I
Wait,
respect you.
What if he plays it like this?
If he plays the whole thing.
Anger.
It's really passive aggressive anger. Well, whatever that makes you feel, and you're showing a student that move or that game or whatever it is, share that with your student. Okay, this is the part they're going to remember, is the feeling. This 11-year-old kid this morning that I played, we reviewed the game afterward and said, I'm really bad at remembering games. I want to kick him. I'm like, you're so good at reading, but you can't remember anything. I don't understand how that works, but okay. No, he tried to remember the game and he screwed up like 4 times. And I was just sitting there watching him going, no. He's a Ming Ju student. And apparently he has to do push-ups. Every time he doesn't remember his game. Did you make him do push-ups? Did you make him do push-ups? No, but I just told him warning. I'm like, you're up to 20 push-ups. like, you got an issue. So I said, when you play a move, what does that mean to you? And he thought about it, he's like, oh, it meant I really wanted this part of the board. And I went, yes. And I said, when I played this move, how did that make you feel? He said, sad, because I wanted that part. Yes, okay, that's the part that you should be teaching, okay? It's that story that are going to get people, number one, to again, get enthused. It's all about enthusiasm, right? It's about relating to, being a human and this, forming relationships, building the community. But it is an act of storytelling, right? This is how we remember things. The ancient cultures, right? They had these bards and troubadours and things that would travel around and recite these long poems. How were they able to do that?
Here's a practice.
Practice.
Well, practice, number one. Good, you're paying attention. But number two, this is how humans relate to things, right? We relate to things with stories. This is just built into our brains. This is built into our DNA. It's built into our culture. We've been programmed to think in stories. Thinking in math is hard for a lot of people. Why? Like, you Go players, you can't relate to this. There are people out there. There are people out there, right, who are like, you want me to add 90 and 27? I need a calculator. Right? There's a lot of those people, right?
Your story.
There's my story. Well, but that person, I bet that person can tell a story no problem. Why is adding two numbers together so hard? They don't relate to it. It's not that story structure, right? Our brains want to have an if, then, else, and then this, and this, and this happen kind of sequence to it. And numbers don't really do that very well. So math, I think is so find the story in your game. Find the narrative. Pro commentary is really good for this because a lot of times, not every move, but the pros will tell you exactly how this move makes them feel. And I think a lot of people like Lee Hodgson because of it, right? When she's playing a game, and her opponent makes a move, she'll go, oh no. I wanted that. That was supposed to be mine, right? I mean, she'll give you these little bits of insight into what she's thinking in terms of her feelings.
Yeah.
Okay? And that makes it much more relatable than some of the other Go lecturers who are up there and, well, look at this sequence all works out. And that's kind of hard to follow, but if someone's up there going, oh no, and then explains the sequence, you can relate to it. Okay? What number are we on?
6.
Wow, you guys are paying good attention. Alright, this one, so this one, I've said this for a while, and I always get an argument with someone about it, it seems.
This is controversial.
It is! Because here's why. If you want to teach Go, you're doing a human thing, right? You were trying to do something for other humans. If you're Go players, so for the most part, you guys don't really like humans that much.
That's controversial.
I'm being a little facetious, but only a little. This having to go out and love what you do kind of mentality is very hard when what you're doing is working with people, all the time. Teaching is a very intimate relationship with other people. And if you don't want to get burned out, right? If you want to be a successful teacher, you have to love that relationship. And there's a lot of different things to love about that relationship, right? Watching someone grow, watching someone learn is fantastic. Building this connection. When someone's learning something, I think there's a stronger bond almost. It's like going through a traumatic experience together, right? If you're all in an earthquake together, right? You're all friends. Well, if you learn, pi out to the, 1800th digit, it's kind of a traumatic experience. So I can say that, you grow together too. That's a bad example. Don't use that. Okay, so for me, my own personal story is I don't really like people that much in general. I'm introverted. I don't like being around people for too long. If I'm around people for too long, I go into a hole and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here for a while everyone out there is doing their thing. That's my kind of stage. Okay, but through practice, and because I'm doing something that I'm enthusiastic for, right, and I've done this a lot now, I can sort of overcome that and go, wait, no, I actually really do like this relationship. I like, helping other people. That's really cool. That makes me feel really good. And thus, by association, I end up loving people. It works. I'm saying that's the state that I want you to get into. If you are not in that mental state, The AGA has lots of other ways that you can support Go. We could probably use some more web development. We could probably use some more streamings. You know, we could use lots of stuff, right, Andy?
Yep.
And many of those jobs don't involve a single other person.
Indeed.
If you don't love people, we need you. But if you love people, you're in the right spot. Okay. Wasn't too, controversial. This one, you've heard the phrase, always be learning. Well, you're learning Go, so that's always going to be true, right? You never master it kind of thing. But the thing about being a student is that you are experiencing the same enthusiasm that you want to imbue into your students, right? That you want to convey to them. And I think that's really cool. It's very easy as a teacher, and again, I work at a college with a lot of teachers who've been there for, actually a few have been there for over 40 years. Been there a long time. And, they're not really students anymore. And so, do you know what their classes are like? Yeah, they're a little boring. They're a little stiff. They're like, oh, here's the content, right? Here's content. You're supposed to learn this. Here's a quiz on Monday. And they can be great teachers. They can be very efficient, organized, and have it all.
Sounds like my French class.
Sounds like your French class. And check all the boxes. But because they're not a student, there isn't that enthusiasm. There isn't that like, hey guys, I just learned this new Joseki, right? I just learned about this new solar system in this other universe. I don't know. Right? I mean, Laura teaches astronomy, right?
Yep.
You weren't doing summer, I presume. You weren't teaching in the summer.
Yeah.
But if you were, and we were doing the Pluto flyby during the class, what would you be doing in class?
We'd be just looking at pictures of Pluto and talking about when we were kids, what we knew about Pluto and how cool it is. This is the last planet that we didn't have pictures of, and now we have pictures of it. It's super awesome.
She's excited, right? You can see this? That's going to be a cool teaching experience, right? That's going to be a cool learning experience for the students. So if you are learning new things, right, be it about Pluto or, Joseki or whatever your discipline is, you're going to convey that to your students. They're going to relate to you. I think a lot of teachers don't relate to their students, not because they're that different people, but because they're in that different phase of learning, right? One person says, I'm done learning, the other person says, hey, I need to be learned. And that doesn't quite connect, but if we're all learning together, again, we're building that community. I always have to sort of qualify a lot of things to my students. I just found out something cool, like, oh, here's a cool game, here's a cool pattern, here's a cool Tsuji. I don't really know how it works, but I'm going to show it to you. Don't think you need to be an expert in everything. If you find something cool, if something makes you excited, even if you don't fully understand it, give it to your students. I had a teacher in college that did this with Mozart symphonies. He didn't really like Mozart symphonies, so guess what he did?
He didn't like what?
He didn't like Mozart symphonies. So he said, all right, all of you, you're all picking a different Mozart symphony, you're going to go write a paper about it. And, well, you guys aren't music majors. Never mind.
Which one did you do?
Actually, I wasn't. I had friends in the class. I actually didn't take that class. I was in his other class that he told us about. But
Mozart's one of my heroes.
oh, really? Well, that's cool. But anyway, the idea was he was teaching a class on classical music, and he wasn't really a classical music instructor. But he said, hey, I'm going to learn all these symphonies, and you guys are too. So let's learn them together. It was an invitation. Is the point. Bad example. All right, we'll work on some examples as we go along here. All right, a little more pragmatic point. Again, learning names is good, but it's also really helpful to track your students, like after they've left the workshop, teaching, lesson, whatever it is you're having, whatever sort of relationship. If you get their names, emails, Facebook, social security number, you have a lot easier time getting them to come back. Especially the social security number, because you can always call them up in a hoarse voice on the phone and say, I have your social security number. Come to Go class, and I'll give it back to you. No, but I'm just saying, be pragmatic. Don't let people just, come to a class or come to a cafe while you're teaching Go and then just leave. Ryan, you got a question? Okay, so just be pragmatic, do keep track, and I said before, like every class I send an email out before the class. The more you can do that, right, that's a really good way to grow a community. If people know what the plan is, know what's going on, somebody needs to tell them, and unfortunately that's going to be you. So get used to it. It's just part of the job, I guess. Also, if you are doing anything that could be video recorded or put on in an online form, do it. Here's the thing. Like, even though I might be like the guy who's doing double-digit Q lessons online, within a couple of years, there'll probably be someone better who comes along and does everything that I've done just better. And I think that's a good thing. I'm waiting. I want that to happen. And maybe it could even be one of you. But if you're teaching a lot of Go, and it can be documented, this is another way to reach out and contact other people, other parties, other players that you wouldn't even think possible. Okay, so it works both ways, both collecting their information and also sending your information out for building a community. All right. Again, this is sort of relates back to the storytelling idea. But when you are teaching anything, you're a performer. If you are under any sort of guise that you are not a performer, you haven't done enough public speaking. Okay? You have to not just think about the content. It's great if you're on enthusiasm, you're like 80% of the way there, right? If you can convey that spirit, that energy, you're almost the way there. But between the content and some of these other things are actually really helpful. I know. So you guys living in the dorms this week? Yeah. Anyone in Morrison? Yeah. All right, Morrison. The acoustics are terrible. The walls are both reflective and transmissive, and everything is very resonant. You guys had to talk on your cell phone and
I thought that's done on purpose.
I don't want to get sidetracked. But if you had to try to have like a cell phone conversation in one of the rooms, it's actually very difficult because your voice echoes and adds this delayed reverberation onto everything you say. And usually in this type of environment, what happens is that if you have two people talking, even if they're on opposite sides of the room, it gets really loud really quickly. This is bad for learning, right? You want to have an environment that is relatively acoustically dry, well lit, makes people feel comfortable. If people are uncomfortable because of sound, light, chairs, whatever it is, this would be a lot harder for them to be enthusiastic about it. You're putting on a show, right? So we are putting on a real show in a theater. We care about these things, right? We get fog machines, smog we'd get the mixing engineer out, we'd sing some songs. You don't have to sing, but it helps. Okay? There's lots of other things you can do to create an experience. Again, think of yourself as a storyteller. And also, good performers. You guys like stand-up comedy? No one? Yeah. Okay, you guys like sometimes. Okay. Sometimes you go to a show, there'll be a heckler, or even if you watch something taped, there'll be someone in the audience who's like, "You suck." Right? How do the really good comedians deal with it?
Shut them down.
Improv.
Yeah, they sort of riff with them, right? They sort of, slap them right back, or work it into the routine, right? They really don't get phased to it. They have the confidence, right, to see what's in and change the format or change the situation around such that it becomes a joke and it keeps the show moving along. You have to do the same thing because you will have disruptive students, right? You might even have disruptive settings. Right, you might be in a coffee shop that is, has way too many people in it. So you might have to have the confidence, let's change the setting. Let's find something better, or let's find a different time where there's less people there. Don't feel like you're ever locked into anything. Okay, you're putting on a show. Make it the best show you can. I think this is number 10, right? Mm-hmm. All right. So real success is small. We're small, at least in the United States in particular, but in the West, Go is a pretty small community. And because of that, if this was want to go into teacher mode and get my whiteboard markers out, but I have none.
There's one on your desk.
Oh, is it?
There's one right here.
Right.
It sometimes needs a little encouragement to actually write.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
can always.
Well, yeah, I just want to draw a
Motivation. Motivation.
I'm drawing a line now.
You have to motivate the marker.
Oh, I have to motivate the marker. All right, what kind of line is this?
Parabolic.
Exponential, very good. So, I would actually say that, we're down here somewhere, right, in terms of our Go community, of where it could go. Why is this exponential?
It takes time. So it starts out slow and increases over time.
Each person we teach is
a little
now possibly
geometric.
teaching somebody else.
This is it. If you teach someone, and then what is that person?
Two people.
You teach two more people, and then those two people teach more people, right? This is an exponential, growth relationship, right? You guys do like fractals and stuff. You guys like trees, like tree has a trunk, right? And then what happens? It splits into two, and then that trunk or that branch has two more branches, and then two more. You get the idea, right? Until it gets to like leaves or something. Sometimes it's needles. Okay, mostly leaves. Okay. This is the relationship that we're trying to build, and we're right here. Okay. So what's going to get us here? I assume you all want to grow the Go community. Is that a bad assumption? Suko.
Let's put it this way. Nobody wants to learn Go if they've never heard of it.
Absolutely.
So on the plane, the poor guy next to me learned Go on the way up. I talked to the lady who's the salesperson in the clothing thing here. She asked what we were doing. I told her she's interested. I'm going to arrange to try to teach her during her break.
Wow, awesome.
But if you don't answer people, if you don't tell them,
we're going to stay like this.
yeah, exactly. You've got to be vocal.
Natural law.
And that's exactly how we got our demonstration beginner yesterday. I just walked down into the lobby and started grabbing people and asking, if you don't know Go, I'd like to teach you, and will you be available at 1 o'clock? And
Yeah, awesome.
we found an awesome person.
Was that Diane?
Yes.
Yeah, I met her today. She brought another friend back.
Right.
And see how that works? Right there.
Yeah, so how is that going now, Diana, for people she's bringing?
I don't know how it's going. I know that the person she brought, we said she's in education somehow around here.
She's an
She's
assistant
an
dean or
associate
associate
dean of the development.
So she's a big person around here. and Kieran, who's not here. You guys know Kieran? You probably have seen Kieran. He's one of the most enthusiastic 13-year-olds here at the Congress.
Oh, I saw him playing with her earlier.
Oh, we're doing this no.
Are we hooking them up with a Go Foundation student set?
I think
I don't know, but anyway, we set up the associate dean with Kieran, and Kieran taught her how to play Go this afternoon.
him and Haley are playing.
They're playing Go. It's Haley's turn to go. But anyway, do you see how that works though? Right, Chris brought one person, and then all of a sudden we're like at the dean level of a university, talking about having Go in schools. Like that's pretty cool. Aaron.
And then even trying to narrow it down to find people with similar interests. I know Dwyron's been doing it too, but recently started doing other games online, trying to get hits from there and then expose them to that.
Well, Dwyron's been doing that for a long time, and he's trying to do less of it.
Really?
His opinion is that, so if for those who don't know, there's another YouTube guy who does a lot of lectures called Dwyron or Batusai, whatever he wants to go by that day, I guess. But he does these lectures, and they're quite good. I mean, he's a strong player, and he's got a lot of really top-notch content. He's one of the reasons why I started making videos. But he forgot my point.
He was stopped.
He stopped, right. He was making videos not just for Go, but also like SimCity and these other video games. And you get all these video game people to come watch a game of Go, and they would go, no. It's sort of like a culture shock. And so he got a lot.
There's just white and black stones?
Yeah, well, exactly, right? There's not a proper channel to bring them into the fold. And so he would get a lot of negative comments on the channel. He would get a lot of unsubs. He would get a lot of just dislikes on the little thumbs down button.
I think how YouTube works is people only want to see
For your specific
only Go content. If you're making a Go channel, don't bring in anything else, because they're not like oh, I have a whole variety of videos. You can feel free to watch it. If you don't like watching it, then you don't need to. It doesn't work that way.
Yes.
So if you're building a Go channel, don't bring it up.
It's very easy to think we can just tack Go into a bunch of other situations, but it doesn't always work out for our benefit.
And the Go community often got upset when he would put up Sim City. Other Go players would be like, "Why are you doing this? What is these graphics?
Why are the graphics in my Go video?"
Hey, do you think would it be a good idea, like if you were gonna have a lot of YouTube content, to have 2 YouTube channels,
Yes.
maybe create a second channel
Yes.
then?
Yeah.
I mean, he wishes he did that now. The reason why he doesn't is because he has 15,000 subscribers and he doesn't want to mess with that.
All right.
But
I mean, if you're going to do different other games, it has to be something with a little more affinity.
yeah,
I mean, often like chess players are very interested in learning Go.
but
Sim City,
I might even be close enough though.
No, well, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it is a.
The people on, at least on YouTube and on Twitch, who can get away with mixing content tend to be the ones that are, I'm already thinking of exceptions to this, so I'm going to regret saying this, but tend to be the ones that people go to them because of their personality and not necessarily because of their content. If there is a really exciting broadcaster or type of person who does this type of thing, like PewDiePie is probably the best well-known example. You guys know PewDiePie?
No.
Yes, most subscribers on YouTube. Got quite a few.
You can check. I mean,
38.
it's
all different kinds of videos.
Yeah, I mean, this is all over the map, right? So.
But Go is just like Othello, so.
The fact that Dwarven only got 15,000 subscribers over 10 years really says something about the Go community. It isn't that large.
We're here, right? We are here. So, we can't go right from here to here, right? This doesn't work in society, right? Maybe there's some sort of tipping point, right, where it does get into this popular culture phase where it really takes off. But you can't go from here to here. You have to start small, right? You have to introduce individual people, and then hopefully, there are people like, certainly like Dwyron, but also there's another one who's very interesting Go called Day 9, who does mostly, or used to do mostly StarCraft stuff. Right? He's very popular. He's very interested in Go, but his audience. It's hard for him to sneak Go into his audience, right? His audience isn't really ready for Go, so he ends up telling maybe a couple people about it and a couple people about it. He doesn't really make his big content about it. So at some point, there will be tipping points where people like Day 9 all of a sudden are making Go content. But we're not there yet. So this is why you're important. Because we can't do this stuff yet. We're not a mass culture phenomenon. So teaching individuals.
So just out of curiosity, does anybody know how big the Asian language YouTube channels are for Go? Because I have not looked at them.
I have not.
I mean, it'd be interesting just to see how, sort of what a reasonable goal would be given.
They don't necessarily need the YouTube channels because they have Witchy TV and the actual broadcast channels in Japan and Korea.
Sure.
Yeah, the Baduk TV, the Korean, it's in Korean, but it's on the English YouTube site. It is not well watched at all. But that's probably not an indicator of sites that are.
I believe YouTube is not available in China.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the biggest.
Yes.
Not there.
The thing is that when you translate lectures from in other languages, it kind of fails to be effective in terms of because it's translated or if we have subtitles.
So yeah, there's 10 things. Any questions? Anyone have a favorite? Anyone have a least favorite?
Favorite thing?
Yeah,
My least favorite is
Learning games.
Slugging people?
Yes.
Yeah, I told you that. Controversial.
I have some software that could use some help.
Yeah, Dale.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
I mean, it's one thing to talk about Go, but I'm curious to hear from some of these people how do you talk about people to whom you want to sell the idea of teaching Go? For example, a school or a library. What is it you say to these people?
I don't claim to be an expert in that at all. I don't know. Do you guys have ideas?
Well, relating it to the core curriculum in math, like we saw at the opening ceremony, is a good place to start with that.
Yeah, and I think that's what the associate dean here was also most interested in.
Well, we have our distinguished speaker here to maybe give us
yesterday I emailed the dean of this
education school.
Yeah, education school. And she's trying to organize some faculty to listen to this kind of talk. So
how would you go about getting it into a school program?
Well, because I'm a teacher, so it's easy for me to travel between schools, and so it's easy for me to.
Yeah, you walk in with credibility already.
Yes.
I don't think all of us do.
Yeah. Yes, but
But
once you have the contact with the teacher, you can help start after-school program, or if you have an opportunity, you just go to the teacher's classroom and teach this game. And if the kids love this game, you will have opportunity to come back again.
Yeah. I know in Seattle there's a lot of outreach programs that Chris probably
We
knows
do
more
a
about.
lot of outreach programs in Seattle. Some of them we get paid for because the after-school programs are run by the YMCA, and they have a payment schedule. And I think some of our teachers take the pay. Some of us simply say, send the money to the Go Center and let it go at that. I think in terms of getting it into schools, the way you do it is you find a teacher who wants to do it. And your fertile ground for that is science. The science teachers, the math teachers, all recognize instantly that this is a wonderful thing. And if you can get them convinced, you can get Hikaru no Go into the library at no cost through the AGF. And there's a good chance a program will develop. One of the things we have learned is that having non-teachers do it is a very tough slog for them. So I think that the way you can have a good chance of spreading your capacity around is to get a teacher who wants to do it and provide some ongoing assistance so that you don't have to be there every week, but you're there often enough so that this teacher who barely knows life and death, if that, gets to be able to say to the kids, yeah, Joe is going to be in next week, and as you all know, he's an expert. Well, okay, he's a 14Q, but he's an expert there. That's a huge value.
Yeah, actually, there's a pocket and I can go on Thursday from here. So, yeah, mathematical etiquette. So, really, math is very closely related for people the other way. So, yeah, you can get to my lesson and really improve. So, after learning more, especially the etiquette, you can develop, the kids can develop the mathematical thinking.
Yeah, and I saw you give that lecture, I think, 3 years ago, or it was either 2 or 3.
Oh yeah. But the one is like for players, but this one is for teachers.
Oh wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, you can
That's really good.
Yeah, really thoroughly understand, and then you can present. And then you can use story like a math concept, and kids can get that.
And it'll probably, I think it benefits your game too, because a lot of my students, the thing that they want to know is how do you count? And it's related, if you can teach people how to calculate the end game, that certainly helps your counting ability.
And just in case a few people here have seen Elwyn Berlecamp's mathematical end games book.
Yes. Yeah.
If you have an undergraduate degree in math, you can probably appreciate it. But to understand it, you should be postgraduate. This is nothing like that.
That is a really cool book, though.
I think
if you want like really cool math approach to go, it's tough. It's a tough book, but it's.
So there's actually if you're really interested in it, there's actually a book by Conway Berlecamp and Guy called "Winning Ways for Your Mathematical Plays," and that is it's a very big book, but it starts out, it describes the math behind the counting system and the numbers, And it starts out from very simple games, much simpler than anything you would consider to be a game, and like builds up like how you come up with these numbers. And so it gives you a little more intuition about these numbers, which are not part of the normal number line, essentially. Brilliant. How am I brilliant?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Oh, Suko.
Winning ways for your mathematical plays.
If you get hold of a local Go playing student, and who has been in a school for a little while, and then who has now knows some of the teachers, and then work with the student, because the student's going to be too busy to do a lot of organizing. But generally, if they're interested in having it there, they'll, and then you can help do the paperwork, because some of them, the paperwork is tremendous.
And that way it's still built from the ground up, right? You're not coming in as an outsider.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nice things that happen.
And that works pretty well. And then you go in not all the time, and once they start, they'll help you. Especially high school kids, they're gone and way above your head in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
So, yeah. You guys have fun. I'm kind of done. You guys want to go? If you want to ask questions, I'm happy to do more questions.
So I have a question. If you were talking to a guy...
Technically, he raised his hand.
That's all right. I yield.
Okay. I'm a teacher, so I have to call the person who raised their hand. Sorry, Sibicky.
So if you are talking to a guy who knows nothing about Go, and he doesn't want to go into all this mathematical stuff.
Yeah.
And
but you don't have to, right? There's It's a big universe.
And he wants to just sell him this game in 5 minutes. What would he say?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to know more about what his interests are and how he's going to relate to it. I think a storytelling approach works really well. If you show someone a game, and you can sort of give a feeling or an emotional response to each of the moves that are played, that can resonate with a lot of people. I think we're also living in this age of people are watching other people play games right now, right? This is a cultural phenomenon that's sort of budding. I mean, how many of you have Twitch accounts? So everyone under the age of right? I mean,
what's Twitch?
That thing you do when you watch the internet thing. And that's all I know about it.
It's a place where you watch other people play video games live.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
I watch Tabletop, which is a YouTube channel of like people playing board games.
Absolutely. This is similar, but usually live stream. And so there are Twitch stars now, right? There are people who make their entire living from Twitch because people go on there and throw them a buck every once in a while, like, oh, you entertained me for 5 hours. And it's really popularized a whole new genre of games, right? Games that really are not that good of games have become really popular. I'm looking at you, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Because Five Nights at Freddy's is this horror game.
Yes.
Where you're basically working the night shift at a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff.
It's popular because people that play it.
But it's also popular because people will watch other people freak the hell out, right? Because this game will just cause you to jump out of their seats, so everyone's just watching their Twitch stream. Oh yeah, here it comes. Right? And then you see someone just freak out of their mind.
He's gonna get scared.
When this giant rat comes in the door. It's so stupid.
They have like 4 of those out now.
I know. They're milking it for so much money. But I mean that's a Twitch phenomenon. That game would not have existed or become popular at least, even just 5 years ago, right? So we are living. There is something different about what we're doing now. I still say Go is here, right? We haven't tapped into any of this, but there are these changes afoot that do make interesting use of technology that hopefully one of you guys will capitalize on.
This wasn't my question, but now you're making me think, well, maybe you need like a Go interface where you see some blood and gore as the stones attack each other.
Okay, well, there is. All right, so
Nemesis had the sad faces as the stones marched off the board.
Well, I
want people jumping out of their seats and freaking out.
I tried to do some of this. So I was talking about day 9 a little bit. We sent some emails back and forth. And his point, he makes a really great point. I'm not sure if you guys follow poker at all. I don't watch poker, but I used to play a little bit of poker in college. And his idea, he said, well, poker, really before the 2000s, no one cared. No one watched it on TV. It was on ESPN. No one cared. And then in the 2000s, all of a sudden, you saw it on ESPN, ESPN2, World Poker Tour. Every time I go back home, my crazy uncle's like, we gotta go to Vegas.
Because it's at least better than reality TV.
It's at least better than reality. But why all of a sudden, why did poker become popular as an entertainment viewing medium?
Pocket cash.
So you can see their whole card.
That's one of the key things. Absolutely. But that tells a story, right?
Yeah, it puts you in the game.
It shows you, so they have little cameras installed on the table, right? So you see everything in the player's hands, they can see what they have. It displayed odds of them winning the hand. So you're sitting at home and this guy is sitting on a trip ace set. They just flopped on the board. And he's got a 94% chance to win. And this guy's got, he's hoping for runner straight, and he's got, 2%. And it shows you that on the screen. And when the guy with runner straight is putting in $5,000, you're like, what are you doing? There's only a 2% chance you're gonna hit it. And of course, they select the hands.
Yeah.
They show
that are in
on TV. So because it's TV, then he's gonna hit the runner straight. Selective bias in their choice of hands. So, I mean, that takes this innocuous thing that nobody was watching and just adding this little bit of extra information so that everyone is experiencing the same story, really kind of made it pop out. And, Day 9 believes that Go can do the same thing.
Is that what inspired? I think didn't you do like one video?
I did a video called Vision where I just played with blocks of color moving on the screen, and it was a pain in the ass to do. I'm not really an animator. Like this thing.
But that's one of the things about Haley's videos, though, is like she plays with the board, and you can see like where she's putting the cursor, and that sort of reflects what she's looking at.
The cursor certainly helps, but that's such a crude tool.
Sure.
It's sort of like
you want to do eyeball tracking or something, right?
I want it to look good too. I mean, I think eyeball tracking would look sporadic.
Well, yeah, it would be.
It has to have some
You
polish.
wouldn't use the RILE.
Sure. There's another well-known thing that I occasionally talk about called Batu. Have you ever heard of Batu? Batu it's now probably almost 10 years old, I think, maybe 8 or 9, but it's been long gone for a while. But StarCraft is an international phenomenon. It's very popular in certain countries, i.e. Korea, where you have professional StarCraft players. And I don't know what company put out Batu. Do you know what company made Batu?
The same company, Titan.
The Titan? Oh, really? Did Batu? Okay. They said, hey, we can make this game go that we really like, but let's make a StarCraft version of it. And it's actually a really cool game. You play on an 11 by 11 board, and you start the game with 3 moves on the board that your opponent doesn't see until you both have selected them. And the idea is this starts with a base. Like you start with a base of stones somewhere on the board, which all of a sudden makes it, puts you right in that storytelling narrative. If I have a base and you have a base, let's go take down your base, right? It's like, we gotta get this sort of attack. There was a secret move at some point you play that your opponent can't see, so you click it on the board and the stone goes there, but your opponent doesn't know where it is. There's certain places on the board where if you play, you lose points. There's certain places where you play, you gain points. I mean, it had a whole bunch of like other extra game mechanisms in it because it saw this huge audience for StarCraft, and it said, okay, let's take that audience and transplant it to Go. So did it work? No. Which is really too bad because I thought it was super cool.
They had like StarCraft bros that were like ex-Inside playing against retired Japanese or Korean bros like Johan.
Yeah, I mean, there was money.
I was really excited about it.
But I mean, you can't just take Go and transplant it to some other medium. You can't just do one thing necessarily and expect it to grow. You have to try it and see if it works. It's here. We're still down here. So I don't know. There's no magic solution to popularizing Go content, but certainly things are different than they were just 10 years ago. Yeah, Kyle.
Go back to your poker idea. One of the other things that really helped that take off is an increase in purse sizes.
Oh,
the first time there was $1 million prize, which Chris Moneymaker won, and I think it was like 2002 or so.
Yes.
if we could get some big Go tournaments like that, maybe even like $100,000
Well, there are $100,000 Go
in
tournaments.
North America.
No.
Okay. If we had that, then some people would think, boy, that'd be nice to win, and we'd have more interest.
It's true.
But we're still not there.
What's the largest prize in
I think it's
the U.S.?
Probably the U.S. Masters.
Which is what? Okay.
Was that here?
This is $7 grand.
So, $10,000.
Oh, is your
This is why I attempted doing like the poker whole game stuff. Right. How many of you have seen this video? Just curiosity. Almost half. So here, I'll turn off sound just because I'm going to talk. So, just trying to colorize parts of the board that were quote unquote settled or unsettled. So like the red area is confusion. It's kind of red on the screen. It's actually really dark red. But you have the blue areas are whites, green areas are sort of like black spaces. So I'm highlighting bases and I'm highlighting confusion areas. And so as this video progresses, these boxes sort of grow and shrink. As things get played, more and more things get settled as the game goes along.
How did you make this?
In Premiere, Adobe Premiere.
You just drew it by hand.
I use the box tool. We just automate boxes. I want to see it. If we wait long enough, you'll eventually see one like shrink as when someone plays a move or grow. Play move. Oh, I also have this problem with because it broke the first time I did it. I ended up with 2 cursors on the screen, which wasn't really helpful. But I'm using the second cursor to highlight what I'm talking about, and the first cursor is what's locked in the game. So.
It's like 2 pocket cams.
It's sort of like 2 pockets. It's really confusing. I don't consider it to be a really successful experiment. But, hopefully,
it has
but I really
potential.
hope it has potential. But I don't necessarily have the technology background or the animation skill or the time necessarily to do this for a lot of videos. But I am hoping that it inspires someone to see this and go, wait a second. This is actually really easy to do in X, Y, and Z, and I can do this and then.
Well, SmartGo has a feature for labeling areas. If you,
oh, that just turned green.
Yeah.
Black capture this down until like.
That's it.
Right. So, I don't know. Maybe some of you guys have some animation skill.
I can't.
You'd have to automate it, otherwise it's going to be way too.
Oh yeah, like it's a lot of work. Like, even me just doing simple boxes, like I'm really sloppy with these boxes too, right?
Sure.
But just doing them and out as crudely as possible was pretty time consuming.
But if you had something that took I forget what the name of the save game file format is. Yeah, if you have something that took that as input and had rules for how to mark it out.
Yes, that's someone with a different skill set than mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get much?
Maybe you're that guy.
Did you get much feedback on Vision? Do you get a lot of feedback? How was the feedback?
Yeah, because I asked for it in the video, and it was actually pretty mixed. And I think for the most part, there was probably a line around, and I'm estimating here, I could be off, probably a line around 5Q, where if you were worse than 5Q, you thought this was awesome. You're just like, rainbow, it's just rainbows and unicorns right now. If you're better than 5Q, like, this is really distracting and disgusting.
But you want
it seems to be the consensus.
You're trying to bring weak players in. This is
well, yeah, absolutely. I think most people recognize that.
Yeah.
But it's weird that you're trying this out.
Yeah. So we need to try more. See, whites group's in trouble. That's right. It's in trouble.
Wait, your plan is 1 done?
It's called the Sandbagger series.
This is from the Sandbagger series.
I know.
That's what sandbagging is.
Yes, it's actually my 11th video in the Sandbagger series where I play as one dog.
Man, I hope you won that.
I did.
Have you lost yet?
No.
I didn't think I'd seen one.
No, but I haven't. I think if I win 4 more games, it's going to throw me right up to 3 off.
3 off.
Yeah, something like that. My real Taijin account's only 500.
Only 500.
It's Taijin though. Taijin is really easy. Higher ranks, Rich.
Weird. Just don't start out at 18Q. I had never managed to make it out.
Yeah, that's right. That's where all the really good players are.
Yeah.
It's actually a secret code on the tie jump server where all the pros play 18Q.
It's crazy.
So yeah. All right. Thank you guys.